Welcome to Forthright. I'm Sue Lonnie Madsen, bringing you a column and commentary feature from the column headlined Gerrymandering with a Twist. First, if you are unfamiliar with the term gerrymandering, here's the definition straight out of Wikipedia, or at least what Wikipedia says today, unless somebody goes in and changes it. The term gerrymandering is named after American politician Elbridge Gerry, Vice President of the United States at the time of his death, who, as governor of Massachusetts in 1812, signed a bill that created a partisan district in the Boston area that was compared to the shape of a mythological salamander. The term has negative connotations, and gerrymandering is almost always considered a corruption of the democratic process. So, now the column, as published Thursday, May 4th, 2023 in the Spokesman Review, Gerrymandering with a Twist. When far-left Democrats insisted on gerrymandering a majority-minority legislative district in the Tri-Cities Yakima area, they were clear in their goal. The website for Redistricting Justice for Washington, a coalition of progressive-leaning organizations, pointed to Pasco's 55% Latinx population and complained they, quote, faced structural disadvantages at the county level. Tri-Citians should get a fair chance of electing someone that represents their communities at the state legislature, end quote. Naturally, there was a lawsuit over the final map because the 15th legislative district wasn't sufficiently gerrymandered to suit the identitarians. AP, reporting in January 2021, said the lawsuit claimed those pesky white voters, quote, often voted against candidates preferred by Latinos, end quote. The Mexican-American Legal Defense Fund was one of the plaintiffs. So, when the Mexican-American daughter of immigrant farm worker parents was elected to represent the district, all of those voices cheered, right? Not so fast. Senator Nikki Torres, Republican of Pasco, is in the wrong party from their point of view. It was never about empowering a majority-minority community. It was about electing a Democrat in eastern Washington. Senator Torres joins neighbor Representative Alex Ibarra, Republican of Quincy, as two Hispanic members of the legislature not invited to join the Hispanic caucus. Torres earned her victory with almost 68% of the vote on her merits and with hard work, the same way she's navigated the rest of her life. She grew up working alongside her parents in agriculture. Like many immigrants, her parents pushed education as the path upward. Torres graduated from Pasco High School, was a mother at a young age, and finished an associate degree at Columbia Basin Community College over time by alternating working with being a student. While working full-time in banking and raising two daughters, she completed undergraduate and master's degrees in business administration online. Torres said her biggest complaint about the redistricting maps is how they ignore simple physical connections and access. Check the borders of the 15th around the Port of Pasco, said Torres. She's right. The gerrymandering is clear where the 15th, 16th, 8th, and 9th legislative districts come together. As a former Pasco City Council member, she knows her district. As a former farm worker, she finds it frustrating when self-identified farm worker advocates in the legislature, with no actual experience in the fields, question her lived experience. Torres emphasized in an interview last month before the end of the regular session that most of the work in the legislature does is bipartisan. Two of her bills, one related to the Pesticide Commission and one on pesticide application, passed with unanimous support in the House and Senate and have already been signed by Governor Jay Inslee. A third bill extending a pilot program for farm internships to all counties also passed unanimously and is waiting for Inslee to take action. On the disappointing side were two bills tied up by the majority party that didn't make it out of committee. SB 5477 addressed implementing recommendations of the Task Force on Missing and Murdered Indigenous People. SB 5160 would have made organized retail theft a Class C felony. It's a multi-million-dollar problem and especially affects BIPOC communities. The Union Gap Mall is being hit hard, said Torres. The bill died in the Senate Rules Committee, where a member of the majority party blocked it. She was adamantly opposed to blocking hospital mergers. It would result in more healthcare deserts, said Torres, referring to MultiCare stepping in after one of Yakima's two hospitals closed. Torres left banking, seeking to prioritize a work-life balance. For the last 2 years, she has worked across central and eastern Washington for Western Governors University, a highly rated online university serving the kind of students that Torres once was. WGU granted her a leave of absence to serve in the legislature. It's the citizen legislator model envisioned by the founders of the country. Torres knows her gerrymandered communities well, but she isn't interested in the identity politics of the left. The new Hispanic senator doesn't represent the values of the majority party, but the majority of her constituents. She voted no on the final budget, which included yet another Snake River Dam study, not a popular proposition in the Tri-Cities. We don't need another study just because others did not reach the preferred conclusion, said Torres. Gerrymandering in the 15th Legislative District didn't quite work out like the Democrats intended. So I had the opportunity for the interview with Senator Torres when I was spending that day in Olympia, and I'd heard good things about her background as a new senator, and I appreciate irony. It was ironic that after all the trouble the Washington Democrats went to in pressing for a majority Hispanic district, as soon as an Hispanic Republican filed, they dropped the facade and ran a non-Hispanic progressive. Actually, I could be wrong about that. Hispanic is a language group, and maybe the nice white lady in the voters pamphlet who ran against Nikki grew up speaking Spanish, but it's unlikely. At any rate, gerrymandering, or seeking to adjust boundaries to your own party's favor, is pretty near inevitable. Washington State has a process that minimizes the ability to be led into that temptation. Each party in each chamber of the legislature nominates someone to create a 4-person redistricting commission, who then hire a non-voting chairman to keep them on task. It all has to be done in the year census data is released. The next redistricting at state level will be in 2031. I've been through 2 redistrictings in Lincoln County, and the first time in 2011, I was Lincoln County Republican Party chair, so I was very interested in following that to see what district our county was going to end up in. I just kept signing in to testify, please don't split us. It's too hard for us to keep track for a small rural county to be split between 2 districts. We get kind of divided representation. We were in the 7th legislative district. In 2011, we were shifted to the 13th legislative district, which put us in combination with Adams and Kittitas County and a little bit of Yakima, so that we had a district that stretched from the Spokane County line to Snoqualmie Pass. Now we were shifted in 2021 to the 9th legislative district, so we are now combined with the rest of the dryland Palouse, which does make sense from a geographical point of view in terms of our economies and our major crops. But it's a long way from here to Pomeroy, and a very, very large district. Lincoln County has a reliable chunk of conservative voters who have a high voter turnout. So we have become a prize to balance the bluer areas. We're at a location where 4, sometimes 5 districts come together. But we have strong economic and policy interests in common to the 9th, and it's all good. Sometimes the odd boundaries develop because it's just hard to balance, and the numbers have to come from somewhere. And sometimes they deserve the term gerrymandered. If you've never looked at boundaries, check out the maps linked in the Substack post for yourself. The city of Spokane went through a redistricting process for council districts using a similar bipartisan commission, but the commission's map was passed over in favor of a map drawn by council member Zach Zapone, which appears to favor him being reelected in his council district. From the April 7th, 2023 Spokesman Review reporting, I'm reading, Spokane's city council district map approved last year was not illegally gerrymandered and can stand in this year's election, a judge ruled Friday. However, Superior Court Judge Tony Hazel added that Councilman Zach Zapone appeared to have violated rules in the city charter when he presented the map that the council ultimately adopted. Though Hazel emphasized that the wording of the city charter was unclear, he said Zapone had certainly violated the spirit of the local law. Quoting the judge, for precedent going forward, the city council should not be submitting maps, Hazel said. I will make that ruling here, and if it is challenged, I would understand, but for now, going forward, that should not happen. End quote. There's a link to the full article on the Substack page. If you live in the city of Spokane, you might want to be paying attention to whether candidates for city council in this year's election support clarifying the city charter to make sure this kind of gerrymandering doesn't happen again. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Forthright. Be sure to like and subscribe for notifications of new content. I am intending to invite municipal candidates to join me for interviews over the next few months as a continuation of Spokane Talks Media's popular Meet the Candidate series. Spokane Talks Media closed at the end of 2022, but we're still trying to keep that spirit going, providing a platform for candidates, especially for local candidates, to get their word out in a video interview format. So let me know if you are interested by liking and subscribing the Forthright Substack podcast.